a podcast by CIPRA.
Il podcast della CIPRA.
Le podcast de la CIPRA.
Der CIPRA Podcast.
CIPRA Podcast.
Interviews, background talks, and voices from all Alpine countries. Listen to this and more in the podcast of the International Commission for the Protection of the Alps, www.cipra.org/podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of our CIPRA podcast. My name is Michael Gams and today it is all about trail running. If you like trail running or outdoor sports in the mountains in general, the next half hour will be highly interesting for you. For this, I invited an expert in this field, Laura Moro. She works as trail running instructor, organizes trail running tours, and recently also became vice president of the environmental organization Mountain Wilderness International. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, Michael. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to have this conversation today.
Yes, first of all, congratulations to you as new vice president of Mountain Wilderness. Maybe not all of our listeners know a lot about this organization. So could you please explain what Mountain Wilderness is doing?
Sure. So Mountain Wilderness is a non-profit environmental organization, and it was founded in 1987, so celebrating its 40th anniversary very soon. Our mission is to preserve the natural and cultural heritage of global mountain ecosystems, and we are present in several European countries and also in Pakistan and Democratic Republic of Congo right now. I am part of Mountain Wilderness International, which is like the umbrella organization of all the national chapters of Mountain Wilderness. And among our different lines of action, today we are talking about mountain sports. So there is one about mountain sports practice, which is relevant. And in this line of action, we try to promote the practice of mountain sports in an ethical and environmentally sustainable way, because we believe that every mountaineer should be mindful of respecting nature and behave accordingly.
Maybe let's dive into trail running, an outdoor sport which became more and more popular across the Alps among the last years. How about yourself, Laura? When did you start trail running?
I moved to Trentino in northern Italy around 8 years ago, and trail running just arrived naturally, I would say, because I have like hundreds of beautiful trails to explore just at my doorstep. Also, when I moved here, it was really inspiring to meet people that was doing trail running and trail running races, and they were doing things that I have never imagined that were possible, such as Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, 170 kilometers, or even Tour de Géants, 330 kilometers. So I got really inspired by all these people and started running more and more myself, and eventually got into some races and even some ultras and stage race.
What is the longest distance that you ever ran?
I have run 120 kilometers, and I have done a stage race of 170 in several days in a row.
Okay, crazy. Fascinating. So is there an official definition of trail running which makes it different to mountain hiking or simply jogging through the woods? What's the big difference there for everyone of our listeners who maybe does not know so much about it?
Well, trail running really refers to running in a natural environment. It can be in the mountains, but it can be also in a park or in the beach or in a desert. So really, it's very broad. And of course, we are talking about the Alps today, so we are referring to trail running in the mountains, and which makes it special or maybe different from hiking is that we try to go fast, of course, depending on everyone's possibilities. But people think that we are running all the time, but the truth is that we walk a lot as well, because when it's very steep, we also need to walk while trail running.
That's
So
also
it's a bit of both, a bit of hiking and a bit of running.
exactly. That's also what I noticed. I took part in a few trail running events some years ago. Um, only as a hobby. And then I noticed, going steep uphill, it's not about running at all. It's really about getting up there in a kind of decent mode, and then maybe running downhill. Um, and also, what I also noticed, it is a sport for men, women, and people of all ages almost. So, when organizing trail running tours, what is your experience there concerning the gender and age balance?
So trail running was, I would say, traditionally more like older adult and men sport, but it's becoming broader, I think, every year. So we have more women, we have younger people becoming trail runners. With the professionalization of the sport, we are seeing more young athletes also getting amazing records, no, an amazing time. So I think it's really a sport for everybody. And one thing that is very special about trail running is that in a trail race, a wide variety of people can take part. No, in other sports, only professionals can do a race, but in trail running, I would say almost everybody can take part in a shorter or a longer distance. So this is very beautiful from trail running.
Yeah, this community aspect is also something that I found really fascinating, because it's not only about competition, it's also about kind of running together and making the experience together, which is a very positive thing about this. You also co-founded an association that motivated women to practice trail running. Why?
So it all started because there was a very famous sky race near where I live called Limones Sky Race. And it was part of an international circuit with all elite athletes coming. But the organizers realized that apart from the pro athletes, there were very few women taking part in the race. Maybe they were a bit intimidated by the term sky running and the hardness of the race. So they started organizing some training events for women and organized a mini sky race that covered like part of the route of the main sky race. And in one of these events, I met a group of women, and we decided to continue running together and eventually co founded a non-profit sport association. And the idea was to empower women through mountain sports, mostly trail running. And it was a very nice experience. We had chapters in several Italian regions. It was a great way to get women together in the mountains and face their doubts and their fears together, and even challenge take some new challenges and some races. Unfortunately, we are not active anymore because as a nonprofit, you always rely on volunteers, so it's hard to find enough time and resources. But I have to say that in my region, our WhatsApp group is still alive, and we still meet sometimes and run together.
In recent years, if we think about trail running in general again, it has evolved from a niche sport into a kind of mass phenomenon. Like you talked about Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, or there's also the Zugspitze Ultra Trail, which regularly attract record numbers of participants. So thousands of people take part there. It might even make it to the Olympic Games you mentioned beforehand. How do you perceive this development?
Yeah, there is no doubt that trail running is becoming more and more popular. I think on the one hand, we have more need to stay in contact with nature. And on the other hand, we are having more races and more live coverage of races. So people is more aware, know that trail running is there and races is there. So trail running is attracting more athletes, is attracting more interest from the general public and the media, and it's also becoming at the same time more professionalized and commercial. And what you said is true because similar to what we saw this year with Eskimo in the Cortina Winter Olympic Games, trail running is actively being pushed for inclusion in Brisbane Olympic Games that will be held in 2032. So yes, we have an increasing number of events, races, trail running vacations also year by year. And I think that this development on the one hand is positive for the sport and allows more people to have access to it and to nature, which of course has proven benefits. But on the other hand, it's bringing some new impacts into places that are fragile, and in some cases, places that are already under a lot of human pressure. So I think it's very important to find a balance between accessibility and nature preservation at the same time.
Talking about these impacts, for example, on nature, what are the most critical impacts of these races?
Well, without maybe going into a lot of details, there are two main categories, both environmental and social impacts. And starting from the environmental perspective, the main impacts are mainly the carbon footprint of traveling, particularly for races that have international participants, but also degradation and erosion of the soil, and disturbing wildlife. For example, I was not aware of this until recently, but during ultra trails, we usually run the whole night with our headlamps on. And this has been proven to disturb wildlife because they get scared of the people, and the lights disturb them. Because animals in general, they are used to hikers passing by at certain times of the day, mostly in the morning, but they're not used to people around during the night. So they get quite disturbed. And maybe other thing we can think of is the generation of extra waste, of course, because of plastic, drinks, nutrition during the race, but for example, also race packs that frequently have useless merchandising. So these are some of the environmental impacts. And thinking about the social perspective, I would say the main impacts are disrupting communities because races often happen in small rural communities and in mountain villages and bring some extra traffic, noise, pollution. There are also some economic imbalances because the races, of course, can boost the local economy, but also at the same time, they rely on local volunteers while most of the profits could benefit private or race companies. And in some cases, the race is also restricting access to other trail users. And finally, one consideration is that trail running races are in general becoming more expensive every year, and they have significant equipment requirements. At the same time, we have some external pressure, maybe of having the latest gear. So it's becoming, I would say, a privileged sport, which may put additional access barriers to some people.
You're kind of insider in this trail running community. You know a lot of stakeholders, including race organizers, but on the other hand, also environmental researchers. Um, how do they tackle this issue of environmental and social impacts? What are the main measures there?
So up to now, we are still trying to collect more scientific data to understand the real impact of trail running and other major sport events in the mountain. There is some research ongoing, but still we need more data. But we know that there are some impacts. No, it's important to quantify them. So race organizers are also aware of this impact, and of course they are trying to put some mitigation measures in place. For example, they are reducing plastic use or trying to promote public transport. For example, in some races they are giving some kind of benefit. For example, some discount for people coming using low uh, carbon travel alternatives, for example. But I still think that more strict measures are needed, in particular in some areas that are very fragile or that are under a lot of human pressure. And for example, one clear way to do this is reducing the number of participants in the races. And final consideration is that once we have more data in hand, I think it's very important to foster dialogue, including all stakeholders. So primarily local communities, but also authorities, environmental researchers, nonprofits, environmental organizations, together with race organizers, athletes. So everyone involved or potentially affected by the event to discuss their different perspective and try to find solutions and agreements together.
Mhm. So getting the stakeholders to the table and discuss their point of view and their problems and issues with this is one way to do so. And also trying to minimize the carbon emissions. That's also what I experienced, that at some races there were shuttles organized from one place to another if the race ends somewhere else, and also free public transport. So there are already some measures in place. More and more people live far away from the mountains and practice trail running, and want to take part in events like this somewhere in the mountains in the Alps. How could we raise their awareness of environmental issues?
Well, I think, in fact, these kind of events are also a great platform to raise awareness among participants, to raise awareness about the travel impact, the impact of trail running per se, and some potential solutions. And since we are all mountain lovers and we want to protect the environment where we can practice our passion, I want to believe that this shouldn't be too difficult. No, so there should be ways to raise awareness by doing some kind of education, maybe some talks, some little training before taking part in a race, for example.
Yeah, you also talked about the stakeholders. How important really is it to involve the local communities around such events? What's happening there on this level?
Well, I think it's crucial. It's very important, and it's something we need to do better. And in some cases, in particular, in the case of some of these major events, I think the local communities should have a more relevant part, because I think in some mountain communities, they are seeing these events as extractive, coming there, enjoying the environment, using it for their own benefits, and then leaving all the waste and all the disturbance and noise and pollution behind them. So I have seen firsthand that the disagreement of some locals in some of these mountain communities is growing, as the events grow in numbers and in importance. So I think it's crucial to listen to the local communities, and not only ask them to be volunteers in the race, because in many cases races rely in volunteers, to guide the runners during the race, or to help with feeding people, etc. So I think we need to involve them since the beginning, also in the organization of these events.
Many trail running enthusiasts also follow professional athletes on social media. How can these professional athletes maybe contribute to reduce the impact of this sport and kind of be advocates for a more responsible practice of trail running?
I think athletes are really great advocates, and many of them are already doing it. Many of them are speaking loud about the impacts of nature, about climate change, about how the mountains are changing because of the global warming. Some of them have founded non-profits. They are collaborating with our organizations. So I think they are really good ambassadors, and they have an amazing power, I think, to to raise awareness and to distribute this message. So I think they are really good ambassadors for the sports and for protection of the environment as well.
What are the most promising and best practices or innovations that you have seen in making trail running events more sustainable?
Yeah, so I think probably one very important aspect to consider is that we need to promote participating in local events as much as possible. So encouraging people to find some local events, getting involved, maybe also volunteering, giving their contributions, so getting involved in the community, and understanding, because they are also part of the region. If you are going to do a local race, You are more aware of the problems that the locals may have. So I think this is important also to cut travel-related emissions. And of course, traveling is always nice. It's very enriching. I love traveling as well. So maybe we can consider instead of doing, I don't know, 5 international races every year, I will do one every 2 years to, okay, I still get the benefit of traveling and getting to know a new place and new people, but I'm trying to reduce my impact as much as possible. And as I said, races are promoting, for example, um, the reduction in plastic use. So in most of them now, you have to bring your own cup, your own cutlery if you want to eat. So this is something very important. In the mountains, we usually have a very nice drinkable water, at least here in Europe. So of course, promoting that you have just tap water accessible, for example, instead of bottles of water, and then promoting ways maybe for athletes to commute together, travel together to races, and reinforce public transportation. Because in some mountain areas in Europe, the places are not very well served by public transportation. And I know it firsthand also living in the mountains. So sometimes, even if you want to use public transport, it becomes really, really complex. So also the authorities need to be aware of this, and participants and race organizers should ask for better transport networks.
Hmm. Do you think there should be a kind of sustainable standard for trail running events, standard in terms of sustainability in the Alps? And where should the limits be set?
Well, I think it's difficult to put a standard because it really depends on the a specific environment where the race is taking place. No, we have protected areas. Maybe some other areas are like closer to the villages. Others are in high alpine environments where we know that there is a very sensitive species. So I think the scale really depends on the event and the environment, and needs to be discussed with expert biologists, researchers, local authorities, and will depend on the event. What I see from many race organizers is that they always try to maximize the number of people. And maybe we should consider, instead of just maximizing the number of participants, trying to maximize their satisfaction with their participation in the race, and maximize the satisfaction also of the local inhabitants, now, which maybe collides a bit with having the maximum number of participants. So I think for places that are under a lot of anthropic pressure, maybe trying to reduce numbers a bit could help improve the situation.
So quality instead of quantity. Is this the one thing that you would like to change, like the number of participants, or is there something else? If you say you could change one thing about how trail running events are being organized today, what would this be?
Well, I think we need to continue raising awareness about the impact of all our actions. And as we see more people coming into the sport, maybe people that doesn't have like a mountain culture or a mountaineering background, and I think this is becoming more and more important, because you have people that maybe they are coming straight from the gyms or from cities, and they don't really know how to behave in the mountains. So I think really um, promoting awareness and creating this mountain culture is very important. Climbing, for example, is becoming also a very popular sport. Number of people practicing it is increasing year by year, and we are seeing many people that transitions directly maybe from climbing gyms into nature. So I think there is really needed to make an effort now to educate those people that are coming into the mountains for the first time. Because I think in the past, of course, the numbers were much smaller. This is the main reason that the impact was also smaller. But also people that got into climbing or into mountain running, they had some mountaineering background. They lived in mountain areas, or they were hikers maybe, and they approached the sport from this mountain background that they already have. But since we have people that doesn't have this background, I think education and awareness are really important.
Mhm. Is Mountain Wilderness planning something in this direction, education, awareness, or are there any other measures, ideas already somewhere in your mind and in the mind of your colleagues at Mountain Wilderness?
Yeah, definitely. We are trying to raise awareness. The different national chapters organize events for different types of public, even for young people. We organize some hikes, some exhibitions, some talks, webinars. And maybe one very interesting example is a project that we've been running for several years. It's called SWAT project, and it's done in a region called Swat Valley in Pakistan. And this region is quite accessible because they recently built a new road. So more tourists are coming into the mountains of this region. So they are seeing a lot of pollution and other environmental problems. So Mountain Wilderness Pakistan, and supported by some other European chapters, they have been running this project where they have trained some local young people, male and female, to become trekking guides and to raise awareness also about these environmental problems. So this project has been running already for several years, and it's been very nice because, in particular, now women in this region don't have as much opportunities as men. So it's been really inspiring and motivating to see these young ladies also get familiarized with the mountains, with camping outdoors, and also learning at the same time about the environment.
Mhm.
So we are doing some actions also to promote this education and awareness.
Great. And where do we find further informations? I guess maybe online on the website of Mountain Wilderness and other channels.
Yes, we have a nice website where you can find all the information. If you click in our projects, you will find more information about this SWAT project that I was talking about. And we have a Facebook and an Instagram channel that you can follow as well. And also, each national chapters have their own social media. So, in case you are interested in a specific country, you can look for their mountain wilderness chapter, and you will find some info for that country in particular.
Great. Yeah, and concerning large sports events, CIPRA International already has been collaborating with Mountain Wilderness concerning the Olympic Games, the Olympic Winter Games that took place in February. But apart from that, on a personal level, I would like to ask you, where will your next trail running adventure take you? Pakistan? No.
No, not Pakistan. As I said, I love traveling,
But not too often.
yeah, I try to be mindful of my traveling and maybe just participate in one event internationally every few years. So this summer I'm traveling to Kyrgyzstan for a fast packing trip. Is not a race. And I'm doing a traverse in the Tian Shan Mountains over several days of trail running and sleeping in yards. And apart from that, the rest of the years I'll be running close to my home in the mountains of Trentino, which are also super nice.
Yes, I wish you all the best for this and a safe trip. A lot of memorable experiences, of course. Thank you very much, Laura. And keep on running for a good life in the Alps.
Thank you. It was great speaking with you. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Additional infos on this topic can be found in the show notes and on our website, where we publish an article about this topic as well. If you like this podcast, please share it with your family and friends. Thank you for listening. My name is Michael Gams.
A podcast by CIPRA.
Il podcast della CIPRA.
Le podcast de la CIPRA.
Der CIPRA Podcast.
CIPRA Podcast.
Interviews, background talks, and voices from all Alpine countries. Listen to this and more in the podcast of the International Commission for the Protection of the Alps, www.cipra.org/podcast.